Hello, Oiler Nation. This is Deven J. Stover here with head men's basketball coach Charlie Ernst. How are you doing here this fine ending of February, Coach?
I'm doing good, Dev.
Heading into March Madness finally. So speaking of that, with just 2 games left in the regular season, every possession obviously matters even more. What's one habit, whether in execution, communication, or mentality, that you've been emphasizing in practice to make sure the team's locked in these final games?
Yeah, I mean, just the word habit, I think, is probably the biggest thing. Trying to focus on, winning habits because, this time of the year, we're all trying to reduce our practice time, reduce the load. But then how do you do that in preparing for your opponents and then continuing to build the habits that fit your system?
Absolutely.
So hopefully, you've already built those habits and you can mostly focus on your opponents at this time of the year. But, probably the biggest thing that we're preaching right now is effort and unselfishness.
That makes sense.
I mean, in this system, we have to play with tremendous effort, whether you make a shot or miss a shot, whether you have a turnover or an assist, whether you have a big play. You gotta still play hard. You got to get right back to defense, and you can't really celebrate great plays. And then unselfishness, playing together, playing for each other, being more happy for a teammate's great play than even your own great play.
Yes.
And those are habits you build in practice.
Absolutely. And now heading into Ashland, I know that's the next game. They have a very distinct playing style, but at this point in the season, scouting reports are more detailed than ever, as we know. So how much do you focus on countering their tendencies versus doubling down on what your team does best?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And I think the thing with Ashland is they probably, in my opinion, have the best individual player in the league in Maceo Williams, and he requires a tremendous amount of attention. But the tricky part is the more attention you give him, the more opportunities that are available to some of their other guys who are good players.
True.
So I think for us, we're going to have to just have guys step up. That's what you do on the road. It's going to be a team effort, a group effort. We got to just hope that our press, wears them down, maybe gets them out of sync a little bit. And of course, in order for that to happen, we have got to be playing at a very high level. They've got this one on their home court, and I'm sure they're talking about the game that was here. And it's a rivalry game. So, I think for us, it's just everyone has to come and be ready to play a game at a very high level. And that's what it should take at this time of the year. It should. And we just happen to be playing 2 very good teams this week, which, then lends right into the conference tournament where, you're going to be playing good teams.
Yeah.
And, Ashland's a very good team. They've had some tough lucks, lost some close games, and, there's really not a big difference between the best team in this league and probably the 8th or 9th team in this league, or really maybe even any team in this league. So I think our players understand the challenge ahead.
Absolutely. And you mentioned going back to back, and in a long season, momentum can be fragile, and it's not always built from big moments, as you mentioned. Can you think of any small, easily overlooked play from maybe even a recent game that truly embodied the character of your team?
Yeah. The one play that jumps to mind for me was the game just here a couple weeks ago against Kentucky Wesleyan. We were down, I think we were down 3 with about 3 or 4 minutes to play in the game. And Jake Bishop ran down a play from way behind, and he got a piece of the ball as Logan McIntyre was going up for what appeared to be a breakaway layup in a double or a 2-possession lead for them, and instead he missed the layup, but he missed it because Jake got a piece of it. We go down and score, and then about a minute or 2 later, we were down 2 with a minute to play in the game. We missed the shot, and Jake tied up
he
their
did.
big guy for a jump ball. We had the possession arrow, and then Jagger turns around and makes a baseline jumper that ties it up. with a minute to play, and then we got to stop, and then we had the hammer then, as we like to call it, you know. But they were both plays by Jake, where Jake's not the biggest. He's certainly not the most intimidating guy in the warm-up line, but he just makes tremendous hustle plays because he never gives up. And, you know, those are not only winning plays, but I think they serve as great examples to all of our players on when you, as coaches, you say the little things are important. Well, there's two examples of the little things being important.
And I remember you stressing that even when I was here, Coach.
Yeah.
And then last question for you. So we talk a lot here about preparation, but sometimes unexpected moments define a season. Has there been a time this year where your team's ability to adapt on the fly, whether an in-game challenge or off-court, proved to you that they're ready for a deep postseason run?
Yeah. Well, you know, as a coach, sometimes a lot of games kind of get muddled up, but there's always a couple that, you know, moments and game outcomes that stick out. And I would say without a doubt, you know, the game at Northwood.
Yep.
And we were far from our best. Northwood had something to do with that. I never like to put things in a way that it takes away from what your opponents do, because I know every opponent works extremely hard just like we do. But we did not play very well in that game, and shots wouldn't go in. There was 5 minutes left, less than 5 minutes to play in the game, and we were down 54-42. And by the grace of God and by the hard work and the will and the togetherness of our team, we were able to make up that deficit. Josh hits a three to send it into overtime on a play that we perfectly executed, really for the first time all night.
Yeah.
And he knocked down a big shot. That took it to overtime, and then we won in overtime on a night when we were not our best. We were a long way from home. There was only a sprinkling of Findlay fans there. And somehow, some way, we found a way to win that game. And that told me that this team's got a lot of fight. And, you know, the fact that we did not give up that night tells me that we're not going to give up, regardless of the situation of the game, and that carries you a long way into a season.
Absolutely, and I believe wholeheartedly that truly does capture the essence of your team, Coach. But definitely thank you for being here with us today. And this has been Deven J. Stover here with head men's basketball coach Charlie Ernst here on Oiler Outlook.